Hey, Abby, how you doing? Fantastic job. Just wonderful presentation. Really super inviting, super open. It's really, let me just back down a little bit. There we go. That's what I wanted to do. The pages are so harmonious, and the adherence to the grid is what is causing that. Adhering to the grid like this is it creates a mathematic harmony with itself. So everything falls within the grid, meaning that the spatial relationships, the scale relationships, and the placement ensures a harmonious relationship between all areas of the page, including the negative space. So really fantastic job there. The spreads themselves are very inviting, really, really clean and open and not cluttered at all, which is fantastic for a presentation with this much information. So great job there. Okay, I'm going to go through the presentation. I've got a few comments. So let's go through. I mean, the work is phenomenal. I think that you should expect minimal deductions based on a few of the following comments, and I'll make note of that in the final grading rubric. But anyways, okay, the cover. Cover looks great. I think the cover should be presented in full dynamic range in terms of the photograph that's being presented. And I say that because it's muted back a little bit. And don't forget, this is a cover. You're introducing Kyoto. So you want this to be a dynamic image. I think muting it back a little bit like this is working a little bit against the cause here. So in this regard, I would definitely present this in its full dynamic range, in full tone, full contrast, and then reassemble the type accordingly. Two problematic areas in this particular cover. One is right here, the mask, indicating that, as we all know, at least in this part of the world, we look at Asian countries and we see pollution as a serious problem. Maybe not so much in Japan, but definitely is kind of pointing to the wrong direction. The other problematic area in this image, and don't get me wrong, the image is fantastic. And it's two areas. This girl right here is yawning. And that's probably not a good thing for the introduction of your presentation. Okay, let's move on. Spreads. Table of contents looks great. I want to show you something in the table of contents. Your leaders, I think the table of contents look really good. Really super easy to follow. Really easy to find what you're looking for. So great navigation there. But I want to draw your attention to this. The leaders, you can see it specifically on 37. The leaders go all the way to the end of the line, so there's no space between the leaders, the end of the leaders, and the beginning of the numbers. So each of the numbers has the last leader encroaching on the number, so it's interfering with the presentation there. So that would be an area of concern. Other than that, I think table of contents looks fantastic. Again, great adherence to the grid on all of these pages. The rags are a little bit uneven. I would turn in a presentation like this. There's not that much extended type, and each type is isolated to individual pages. For this reason, I would make sure I turn off my hyphens, so there's no hyphens, and then recompose accordingly. And watch your rags. There's a big difference between your short lines and your long lines in a lot of areas. So I would even those out. Two spaces right there. That should be one space. You have two spaces after periods. I know, that comes back left over from the computer days. I'm sure I'm from the typewriter days where we used to have to use two spaces in between after a period. So definitely not in digital typography. So watch that. Okay, moving along. Nice open page. This page here, this is called clotheslining, and what you're doing is basically, let me Command R this, draw a guide out here. Basically, what you're doing is two different ways to compose your type. Well, there's more than two, but one is called clotheslining and one is called skyscraping. Clotheslining is where the top of your type columns are in alignment, but the bottoms are vary. Ergo, like sheets on a clothesline. And then the bottom, and then skyscraping would be different, where your bottoms of your baselines are in alignment, and then you have various starting points. So as you are clotheslining, that's fantastic. But one recommendation would be to take a couple of lines here and add them here. I think the relationship here is there's too much type here and not enough type here. So we could turn that easily into a little bit more of a consistent relationship instead of this big white space here. Okay, next page. That's a gorgeous page. Yeah, no doubt about it. Really, really nice job. Again, turn your hyphens. Watch your hyphens. I would turn those hyphens off. in the type settings. Beautiful. Great job. That's a widow right there. That's a typographic widow. That's a word that sits at the end of a paragraph alone on a line. You don't want that. You don't want one at the beginning either. A word or a line sitting alone. That would be called an orphan. Okay, another nice page. See this hyphen right here? Let's see what it's doing. The last line, it's just really, really unusual. So turning hyphens off would force that word to that line, and it wouldn't be so strange to look at this line and not recognize that word right there without the hyphen. One thing I want to mention about your page numbers, I think your page numbers are really close to the edge of the page, a no print zone, as it were. I would also consider creating some harmony by making the page numbers the same size as your, the same color as your headlines over here. I think that would create a nice consistent page harmony, color harmony between your type headlines and your page numbers. But again, get those page numbers specifically at the bottom there. It's just too close to the bottom, so any kind of mistrim at all would it's just coming really super close to the page numbers. This page right here, Rising Sun, you have your concept development. Okay, concept development. Okay, Rising Sun, Yama, and then Geisha. But you don't delineate Geisha as your final logo. So there's your final logo, but you never say up here, Geisha, I would say Geisha dash final logo. Because right now, going through this here, the viewer doesn't know yet which one is your final logo, since we haven't really seen it yet in the presentation. So make sure you delineate that as your final logo. Then from there on, placement shots. Logos pictograms look great. Look fantastic. Nice relationship between the Geisha logo and the pictograms themselves. Good continuation of the visual language you've set up in the logo and continued it through the pictograms. Good job. Nice fifth element pattern development, and that works into your presentation and your phase 3 very, very well. Mock-ups look great. That's a wonderful shot right there. Likewise. And then merchandising. And then you have your bus wrap. I would say that if one thing, I would like to see a few more placement shots. Not working against you. It's not going to, but I definitely think it would hold the viewer's interest more towards the end of the presentation to see some more placement shots. For example, buildings with fifth element graphics and your logo and some of the event graphics located right on large format printing right on the sides of buildings. Olympic Village placement, different areas in local, not venues, but local establishments, different areas in the street signs and banners and things like that. But just it's falling a little bit short there. But other than that, I think the presentation is fantastic. Really wonderful job. Got some notes here. Okay, so table of contents leaders, the rag variants of the rags, short to long lines, hyphens, widows, delineate the final logo, and then, of course, fantastic use of the grid. There should be an exclamation point right there. All right, great job. Any questions at all? I'm right here, and I've really enjoyed having you in class. I think you've made some really amazing contributions to the class, and I really appreciate that. So fantastic class. Thank you very much for all you have done to make it such, and please feel free to contact me for anything you might need. Okay, thank you very much.